I'm honored to follow on the distinguished ranking member on our Environment and Public Works Committee and one of the co-authors of the Waxman-Markey bill, the one significant piece of climate legislation that has passed a House of Congress, to add my voice. It is disappointing that...
Gentlemen, yield briefly.
Gladly.
Because, I just want to say that there is no climate warrior like Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island. I mean, he is up every day of his life on this issue, and when he speaks with the authority of an expert on this subject. I just wanted to say what an honor it is for me to be here with you. Thank you.
Goes the other way.
Thank you.
Sometimes it seems that our friends on the other side of the aisle think that the only people who are watching this conversation are fossil fuel industry lobbyists and CEOs and electioneers. And so we're going through shortly a truly preposterous exercise on the floor of the Senate, which is that a party that has brought up no significant legislation in the time that Leader McConnell has had the floor is now going to bring its first measure related to climate for a floor vote, and it's something that they intend to vote against. It's something that they intend to vote against. When you are bringing a measure to the floor that it is your intention to vote against, that's not legislating. Something else is going on. Now, I think this was a very clever stunt. We don't know quite where it was cooked up, but we have observed that the Wall Street Journal editorial page is a relentless mouthpiece for the fossil fuel industry, publishing climate denial articles literally within the last year. And the Wall Street Journal editorial page called for this stunt vote, and it took less than 24 hours before the Republicans in the Senate jumped up and scampered out and did exactly what they were told by the fossil fuel industry's mouthpiece, the Wall Street Journal editorial page. So I'm sure that there were champagne corks banging into the ceiling of the ExxonMobil boardroom and the Americans for Prosperity boardroom and the Koch Industries boardroom as all of these fossil fuel executives and lobbyists cheered this stunt. But in the Senate, we actually have a larger audience than just fossil fuel donors. The country is watching and the world is watching, and what they're seeing right now is, frankly, an embarrassment. It is not just this stunt that reflects a broken Senate. It is a much larger problem of a Senate that cannot deal with the climate change issue in a bipartisan fashion. And I will tell you, when I got here in 2007, the Senate could deal with climate change in a bipartisan fashion. And in 2008, the Senate could deal with climate change in a bipartisan fashion. And in 2009, the Senate could deal with climate change in a bipartisan fashion. And the reason I know that is because I was here then, and I saw as many as 5 bipartisan efforts to deal with climate change during that period, with different Republican senators and Democratic senators. And then came the Citizens United decision in January of 2010, and from that moment after, it was like watching a patient drop dead in the emergency room. The heartbeat of activity on climate change just went flatlined on the Republican side of this chamber. I think the fossil fuel industry, I know the fossil fuel industry asked for that decision from the Supreme Court, from the 5 Republican justices. I think they anticipated what the decision was going to be, and they immediately went to work to squelch and crush any dissent from their orthodoxy on that side of the aisle. And the result has been that there has been no significant piece of climate legislation, to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and deal with this problem, that since Citizens United any of our colleagues now co-sponsors or supports. It's just been silenced. And it's a dramatic failure in this greatest deliberative body. Now, I will tell you, as others have said, as Ranking Member Carper and Senator Markey said, the science on this is now beyond dispute. The science on this is irrefutable. And if we fail to deal with this problem, the consequences will be catastrophic and irreversible. Irrefutable science, catastrophic and irreversible consequences. I'm actually quoting somebody when I say that. Do you know who I'm quoting? I'm quoting 2009 Donald Trump. Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump and Ivanka Trump and the Trump Organization signed this full-page advertisement in the New York Times in 2009. If we fail to act now, they said, it is scientifically irrefutable that there will be catastrophic and irreversible consequences for humanity and our planet. So as much as the fossil fuel-funded mockery in which the Republican Party has engaged challenges these facts, even the Trumps knew this a decade ago. And if you were to try to describe the Green New Deal, you might describe it as something that if you invested in it, it would drive state-of-the-art technologies that will spur economic growth, create new energy jobs, and increase our energy security, all while reducing the harmful emissions that are putting our planet at risk. That's a pretty good capsule summary of the Green New Deal. And guess what Donald Trump and his family said in the same advertisement? Investing in a clean energy economy will drive state-of-the-art technologies that will spur economic growth, create new energy jobs, and increase our energy security, all while reducing the harmful emissions that are putting our planet at risk. All you have to do is listen to 2009 Donald Trump to understand that the science of climate change was then irrefutable and is even stronger now, that the consequences of our failure to act and our obedience, our adherence to fossil fuel-funded propaganda and orthodoxy will lead to consequences that are catastrophic and irreversible. Said a decade ago, we've done 10 more years of unrestricted emissions since then, and that the basic tenets of the Green New Deal are a clean energy economy that will drive state-of-the-art technologies that will spur economic growth, create new energy jobs, and increase our energy security. With the words of Donald Trump, I rest my case and yield the floor.